So today we're going to begin adding and subtracting decimal numbers. First, I want you to pause this video and I want you to write down in your journal, nice and neat on the lines, these notes. So pause the video and take these notes, and when you are done, you may unpause. So now that you've unpaused the video, we're going to do a couple examples to show how we would add and subtract these decimals. Now, when you're adding and subtracting, you have to add the ones place to the ones place, the tens place to the tens place, the tenths place to the tenths place, and so on. So the most important thing is that you line up the decimal. Now, if I'm adding two decimal numbers, the easiest thing for me to do would be to stack my decimals first and to build around them. So it ends up looking like a colon, one of those things you see on the keyboard next to the letter L. So I put my two decimals. Now looking at my first number, which is 4 2/10, I need a 4 to the left of the decimal. So I'm going to put a 4 to the left of the decimal. And I need a 2 to the right of the decimal. So I put a 2 to the right. Now, on my other number, the 782 thousandths, I have a 0 to the left of the decimal, and then I have 782 to the right of the decimal. Now you'll notice when I do this, they do not line up on the right because they do not go to the same place. The first number stops at the tenths place and the other number stops at the thousandths place. So in those two vacant places on top of the 8 and the 2, I'm going to fill in zeros. And now my number does line up on the right. So now I can just add and subtract the numbers like I normally would, and the correct place values will align and the decimals will be lined up as well. So 0 plus 2 is 2, 0 plus 8 is 8, 2 plus 7 is 9, and 4 plus nothing is 4. Now when I'm done, that decimal that is lined up is going to drop straight down in between my ones place and my tenths place. Now looking at this next number here, this next problem, 6 minus 3 and 708 thousandths, we have a little bit of an issue because the 6 does not have a decimal, but you have to have a decimal in order to line it up. Now the 6 is in the ones place, and the decimal always goes to the right of the ones place. So if you're ever missing a decimal, you just put one directly to the right of the number. It always goes on the end. So I'm going to go ahead and line up my two decimals because that's the most important part. Now, looking to the left of this first number, I have a 6. And I have nothing on the right. So I'm just going to leave that alone for now. Now, looking at my next number, the 3 and 708 thousandths, I have a 3 to the left of the decimal, and I have 708 thousandths to the right of the decimal. So now that I've lined it up, I'm going to fill those zeros into my empty spots because I can't have missing numbers there. Now this is actually a subtraction problem. And you'll see these zeros are important because I would not have anything to borrow from or across if I didn't put those zeros in. So I can't take 8 from 0, so I go next door, nobody's home, go next door, nobody's home, go next door, and take it, make it, and give it away. The zeros that are marked out become 9s, and the one that is not marked out becomes a 10. So 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 0 is 9. 9 minus 7 is 2, and 5 minus 3 is 2. Then the decimal drops straight down so that it will be between the ones and the tenths place. Now let's practice lining some numbers up here. I could have multiple numbers if I was doing an addition problem. And notice this one stops at the tenths place, the hundredths place, this one has no decimals, and this one stops at the thousandths. So if I have 4 decimal numbers, I would need 4 decimals. So right now, practice putting 4 decimals lined up on your paper, and we're going to build around them. Now, before we start placing these on the decimals here, we need to look for missing decimals. The 9 is missing a decimal, and if it doesn't have a decimal, 1 goes on the end, always on the end. Think, if you're tardy to the party, you go to the back of the line, not the front of the line. So we're starting with the 7 and 5/10, so 7 goes to the left, 5 goes to the right. Going to my next number, 12 goes to the left. And notice how I'm writing it backwards so that these line up. And then 78 goes to the right. Now on the 9, 9 goes to the left. We don't have anything on the right yet. And then my last number, 1 goes to the left. And then 0, 7, 3 goes to the right. Now, I need to fill zeros into any of the empty spots. So I'm going to look at this last number because it is the longest one. It goes all the way to the thousandths place. So I need 3 zeros on my 9 in order to make it go to the thousandths place. This number beginning with 12 needs 1 0, and this number beginning with 7 needs 2 zeros. So now I would be able to add those up correctly. So I want us to do some practice problems now. I want you to pause the video and I want you to write down the problem, lining up the decimals, filling the zeros into the empty spots, and add it up or subtract. And then I want you to unpause the video and see if you did it correctly. And if you did not do it correctly, I want you to fix it. So pause the video now. So how did you do? Notice the 14 became 14 and 0/10 so that it could line up with the 8 and 2/10, and the answer is 22 and 2/10. Now, write down your next problem and then pause the video to solve. How did you do? Notice we had to put a 0 on the 2 and 9/10 to make it 2 and 90/100. And then when we subtracted, we ended up with 6 and 47/100. Let's do 2 more really quickly. So write the next one down and pause to solve. How did you do? Notice we put a 0 on the end of the 18 and 7/10, and the answer to this one was 41 and 84/100. So let's practice one more. So write this one down and pause to solve. So you should have added 2 zeros to the 1 and 5/10, and then the answer is 4 and 507,000ths. So now that you've done these practice problems, go ahead and do the rest of the lesson with the practice components before doing your DOL.